Hi everyone, my name is Caroline and I'm the Partnership and Engagement Manager at Enactus UK. And today I'm going to be talking about the SAP Partner Competition and how you can really get ahead in your application. So hopefully you'll have seen by now that the application portal is now live and the deadline is Friday the 29th of October. And this year, SAP's focus is all about using technology. So really using technology as part of a innovative solution to a beneficiary needs. And this is what SAP would like to offer grant and mentoring to teams that are really focusing projects around that area. And I've put a few ideas that this could look like within projects. So for example, using technology to connect older people with a community to help combat social isolation and loneliness, even creating an artificial language through programming that can recognize visual signs and convert them into text or speech, which is already being used by hundreds of thousands of deaf people. And these examples are all taken from the SAP Partner Competition page on the Enactus UK website. So please do have a look at all of those examples and see how your project can go through those and kind of take inspiration from them and definitely make a really strong application. Okay, so just a few insights, having experienced and seen lots of different applications in my time, I've picked out the best and the worst parts of those and how you as a student can make sure that you're being really clear on your application so we can progress you through to the next stage. So my first piece of advice would be specific. So remember, this is being shown to a panel of SAP reviewers and they might not have seen your project before, so really be clear on your project beneficiary, your project vision, and because this will be easier for the judges and the reviewers to understand. So make sure you're really specific. Use the word limits that we've put in place within the application to help you structure your answer. So these should be treated as guidelines of how much or how little to write. So we don't want essays, but we also don't want tiny sentences. So be really careful of using that word count to help you structure how much should be included. Okay, and then just a quick one that we've seen before, be sure not to mention other partners or organizations within your application. Remember, this is an application for SAP's partner competition, so focus exclusively on the support that SAP can provide you and their access to expertise. So really focus on SAP within this one. I'm sure you can imagine that I've seen all sorts before, so just make sure your application talks about SAP. And this leads me on to my next point, which is just to ensure that your project fits into the values of SAP. So just spend some time researching the organization, researching maybe what the SAP Tech for Good has sponsored previously, and align your projects to this. If you can see a theme or a trend, make sure you talk about that and talk about how, you know, if you've seen that SAP has supported a similar project in the past, then mention that, because it shows that you've done your research and you're really keen on getting this support from SAP. So with that in mind, I would like to highlight the three most important questions that are within the application and how you can make these your best three within your application. Okay, so explain how you're going to use the SAP mentoring and what specific mentoring your project will require. So again, going back to that point about being specific, we want to know what exactly and how exactly SAP can support you. So use this time to research what SAP has their expertise in and talk about it. We don't really want to see applications that say, oh, I'd really like some business support. We want you to go deeper than that, pull out specific insights and how exactly this will help your project. And then again, explain what resources your project will require and what specifically funding would be used on. So again, talk about what your project needs, not as a nice to have, but what your project needs to have so it can progress to that impact stage. So I would say If you're talking about funding, maybe limit that to £250, £300 and talk really specifically about what resources you need. I don't really want to see like, oh yeah, we'd like a £50 marketing budget. It's not very specific, and it's not what the SAP reviewers will want to see. They want to see that we will be spending X on this, we'll be spending Y on this, because it will mean that we can impact X amount of people. So really spend some time thinking about what your project needs and not what your project would like to have, okay? And then finally, explain how your project meets the brief. So again, the resources that are on the SAP partner competition page haven't been put there for fun. We put them there to help inspire you. So open all of those tabs where we've given you project inspiration, read about SAP Tech for Good, read all about that and put it into how your project meets that brief. This is so important that you're spending time researching. So they're the three most important questions. And then a little bit of logistical advice. So we've written our application, we're ready to submit. Make sure you get someone to proofread your application. So like I've said before, it's being sent to a panel of SAP reviewers. So make sure what you're sending is accurate. Check through those typos, check through any grammar mistakes, get someone else to do it for you. So like I've said in the third point, get a committee member to review your application. So remember that both your Vice President of Engagement, your VPE, and your university advisors need to be aware of the applications that you're submitting. So make sure you send them a copy. If you need them to review it, make sure you send it a few days in advance. Remember that deadline is Friday. So you do not want to be waiting for somebody to review it before you can submit it. Ideally, you want to give people at least 48 hours notice. So on Tuesday, maybe send it to a couple of people to review. Or even if you can get somebody to pull a favour, they might do it on the Thursday before you submit it on the Friday. But it's really important that you get that external perspective, ideally somebody who might not know the project as well as you, because that'll help understand from your perspective what needs to be explained better, or what you've spent a little bit too much detail going into. So just remember, these people who will be reviewing it won't have any idea what your project is. So you need to make sure you're so clear and so specific about who you're wanting to help, who your beneficiary is, what needs you're addressing, and how you came to that solution. So if you can reference the needs assessment that you've done, even better, okay? And then I would recommend, when you're completing this application, to compile all your answers in a Word document. So maybe don't use the Google form until right at the end. I would highlight and tick copy all of the questions that you need to answer, pop those in a Word document, because you'll find that it's a lot easier to find the word count for each question, but it's also a lot easier to edit it, to move things around, to change anything, and it'll help you see it a lot more clearly in a Word document than in a Google form. So I think that's everything that I would say. Good luck with your applications. I'm really looking forward to seeing those. If you do have any questions, please feel free to email me. Thanks, everyone.